Hey everybody, hi. Welcome. I'm really excited to be doing these live postings here. I just really feel the need to do this. It's just, I don't know, the universe is speaking and here I am. So just happy to have you here today. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. And please feel free to post comments and reactions and anything that you might have to this video. For those of you that don't know me much, my name is Mary Lazier Smith, and I live in the beautiful mountains of northern Colorado. And I've been here just the last 4 or 5 years and just loving every minute of it. My life has been a lot about learning and teaching communications. That's just been an interest of mine ever since I was in school. So I have 30 plus years of teaching communication. I'm also a lifelong learner of and decades of being a practitioner of personal and spiritual growth, all things human development. I find that fascinating. And so, today there's a particular challenge that I'd like to talk about. We all are facing the challenges of staying positive and feeling at peace with this rising polarization, many forms of separation we're seeing, we're feeling, that are leading to all of our different ways of feeling that isolation and loss. And I think, you know, we're feeling that loss most acutely when it comes to our relationships. And this can be with our coworkers, this can be with family, especially family, I think, can be a real deep one. Friends, longtime friends, and so forth, because there's topics, there's situations that are arising now all over the world, quite frankly, that we might feel it's really impossible to talk about because something inside of us just knows that if we bring this stuff up, that's going to somehow ruin the relationship. And we don't want to do that. So therefore we avoid talking about it. And my guess is that that's happened at least once to most of us listening to this. If you have a relationship that's troubled at best due to these conflicting opinions or beliefs, leave a comment or a reaction here. We're all in this together. We're not alone. And it seems to be getting harder and harder for us to stay connected. And I don't know for sure with you, but I am definitely feeling and seeing what I would call that weight of loss, loss and security because things are just changing rapidly, loss of connection with others because of these changes and so forth, causing conflict in our relationship. And I feel like this is escalating. And I think a part of this weight that we're feeling is the stages of grief. We're all going through these stages continually, whether we realize it or not. And the states that I'm referring to are often attributed to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, just to give her credit here. So let me ask you, have you ever said to someone, or even just maybe thought about saying to someone, I just can't, or just screw off, you're out of your mind, or anything like that. And it just could have been a feeling inside of you that's what you wanted to say. And no worries and no judgment here, because I think if we're being completely honest with ourselves, we have at least thought about saying that to someone at least once in our lives, and probably more so recently. I know I have, hashtag guilty. And what occurred to me was, dang, this is actually a couple of stages of grief showing up if you have had that kind of internal reaction or actually said that or had that said to you. These are stages of grief. Those two stages are denial, which is a disbelief, or more like a difficulty accepting the reality of a loss. In this case, that could be the connection or relationship with the person, as well as the situation that you're kind of having conflicting viewpoints about. There's loss in both of those things. And also anger, another stage that comes forth as the reality of the loss sets in and is actually accepted. Now, this anger can be directed at yourself, it can be directed at the other, or even what you would call God, or that mysterious force out there. Now, other stages of grief are bargaining, and this is making deals, basically attempting to change the outcome. And these can come in all kinds of forms. I'll just name a few. They could be like prayers of petition, please don't make this happen, or please change this situation. It can come in the form of acquiescing to the other, basically giving up to them, which would be denying or repressing your own beliefs so that you can keep peace with the relationship. It can come in the form of pleading with, again, God or the other, and even ultimatums. Either this or this is going to happen, right? Now, can you see yourself, especially recently, last couple of years, behaving in that way at times? Again, no shame here. This is absolutely a natural part of the human experience. We all do this. We all do this in our own ways, right? So again, if you have a, yes, I've seen myself there, or at least seen that in others around me, you're feeling it. This is happening to you. So, all right. So another stage is depression. And this is a sense of hopelessness. This is the sense of that disconnection, the detachment that's happening. And I think this is the one that I feel most acutely from others around me. Again, it's just that feeling, that weight. And the last stage is that of acceptance. And this is actually coming to terms with the loss that's occurred. Now, these stages tend to repeat over and over. So you've probably seen yourself at different times in different parts of these stages, and then boom, you come back to it. And they don't necessarily come in any given order, but they're all ways of coping with loss. And the loss I'm talking about today is that disconnection in our relationships due to these polarizing issues. So, and I'm seeing all 5 of these stages. They're being played out today, no doubt, as massive changes all over the world are occurring, and they're publicized. They're out there, they're in front of our faces, all of that. So if you think about the United States, what stages of grief are you seeing in just the people around you, and maybe in general as a whole? What stages of grief do you think the United States as a collective are in the throes of right now? Have you seen any of those stages occurring? Where? In the workforce, in your family, in larger groups, politically, socioeconomically, anywhere? I'm curious to know, because I am seeing them, definitely seeing those. And if I told you there was a way that you could eliminate these stages of grief, basically by eliminating that feeling of loss that you and others around you are feeling, would you believe me? I suspect that there's probably some skeptics listening to this. And trust me, I was there too, 30 something years ago. Because if you asked me that question in my 30s, I would have said, no, there's no way. However, I've come to learn and experience a truth that we are all capable of not automatically disconnecting when it comes to polarizing issues, but there is a way of connecting deeply, maybe even more deeply, when these issues arise in our lives and our relationships. Even when it seems like that's absolutely impossible. There's no way I could connect with this person. We're just way too different from each other. Now, it's not necessarily the easiest or the quickest road, but it is the more beneficial one. And, it's the happier, the healthier one, and it's the sustainable and transformative one. So, I often get asked, how are you so positive and happy? I'm smiling all the time, joyful when all this stuff is going on, because they'll know, the person asking will know I'm experiencing maybe a personal conflict or something that's going on in my life, or I'm challenged by all these effects that are going on in the world, these affairs. So they'll know that, but they still see the joy behind it all. And the answer is because I know exactly how to stay connected. I know how to stay in that loving place, in that supported place, despite the fact that we may be on 2 completely opposite planes. We have opposite beliefs and values. We have opposite ways of seeing things and fixing situations. So like that automatic out, something I'll be discussing in June a little bit later, is not my go-to anymore. And because of that, it's completely reversed the quality of my life. I truly do, and those of you that know me know this, live with peace and joy and amazing relationships, even in the midst of upheaval and disagreement that might be happening between the two of us or groups or whatever. So I'm not experiencing the 5 stages of grief as they've been transformed. For instance, okay, denying reality. No, I fully accept reality and remain at peace. And bargaining? Nope, can't say that I do that. There's very little, if any at all, acquiescing. No pleading, and absolutely no giving up my own beliefs and my own values just to keep the peace between the relationship. There's none of that going on. And depression? Nope. Have I been there? Do I know what depression is? Absolutely. Does it stay with me? No, because there's no real sense of hopelessness. There's no real feeling of detachment with me going on any longer. And acceptance? Yeah, no, because honestly, there's no real loss to accept. So that's why I said this was a complete reversal of the quality of my life. It really has been. And I'd say that it's the not knowing what to do. It's not knowing what to say, how to say it. And this is why relationships dissipate or are lost. But it isn't as easy as having a great communications book providing the scripts and actually fixing it. Trust me, I've had the books. I've done that kind of stuff. But what that is it's not sustainable. Those kinds of things, those tricks work for a while, don't they? You know, I mean, have you ever heard yourself or even someone else saying to you, you know, okay, yes, I'm going to change this, I'm going to do this. And it's good for a little while, but then it goes right back to the old behaviors, right? The old things that were happening. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about here, right? So this might seem counterintuitive, but having that real heart-to-heart conversation with the other group or the other person probably isn't the best first step. I mean, think about it like magnets. There's these two groups, or you and the other person, and you're trying desperately to connect, but the repelling ends are, if you've ever felt this before, you know it doesn't happen. The two magnets just won't go together no matter how much you're really trying to make that work. So the key is flipping one magnet around, right? And that magnet is you. Now, this flip is not requiring you to give up or to give in. That's kind of been a lot of our go-tos, right? In fact, it's the opposite. If you want to mitigate this polarization and that loss of relationship, live peacefully, live joyfully, and you can learn about what is this best first step then. If it's not, you know, getting into that heart-to-heart conversation, what is it? I'll be talking a lot more about this, and I encourage you to join my waitlist so that you can hear more about this in the coming weeks. I've put the waitlist link in the comments below, so please feel free to go there, get on the waitlist. As I said, I'll be broadcasting a little bit more about all this, but really something important, really something that I know has changed my life, and I just want to share it with all of you and in the best way possible. So glad you were here today. Have a fabulous day, fabulous week, and I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you so much for joining and being with me here today.